All right, everyone, we are so happy to have you here. I need to make the quick announcement that this session is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube. So if you are uncomfortable with being seen on the screen, then you can go ahead and stop your video. But we are very happy for you all to have joined us in our third in the series of 4 coffee and community chats that have been hosted by Families Together. Each of these are informal conversations that will provide you with behind the scenes looks at one aspect of our current work and our mission to move families from homelessness to home. Today, we're excited to have Families Together Executive Director Lisa Rowe and Families Together Rehousing Manager Karen Lassiter. The title of our program today is Partnering to Build Community, and we'll be introducing you to the partners with whom we work in the community to serve our families better. Before I start, I just ask that you all hold your questions. We will open up comments and discussion after about 10 or 15 minutes of discussion from Lisa and Karen, and then we will wrap up in no later than 30 minutes. And remember to stay on for your chance to win a Families This Never Works Together. Oh, there we go. Families Together mug. And with that, Lisa, do you want to start us off?
Absolutely. Hey, and welcome. Thanks for joining today. And thank you, Karen, for being on here with me. Today's chat is focused on the community of partners that allow us to better serve our families and help them achieve successful, lasting outcomes. I want to start out by explaining our role in the housing continuum of care in Wake County, starting with our relationship with a most critical partner, and that is the Partnership to End and Prevent Homelessness. And they operate our community's coordinated access system. So Sadie, if you want to bring up that slide, I'll just be talking through the system, and this is just a slide of reference if you want to take a look at it. Okay, here goes. When someone has a housing crisis, they are directed to the Access Hub, which is basically the gateway to our local coordinated access system, which connects people in need with housing providers. The Access Hub is comprised of a team of people that field calls made by those with a housing crisis. They're physically located at Oak City Cares on South Saunders Street. And while most people simply call in, they can also be seen in person. So if they go to Oak City Cares and want to see someone in person, that's another way to enter the system. So when someone calls the Access Hub, they will be asked a series of screening questions so that they can be connected to the appropriate resources. In a situation when someone has received an eviction notice but is still housed, they will be referred for homelessness prevention assistance, which you see on the top left, which will hopefully be able to provide the financial assistance they need to stay housed. If they have lost their housing, however, there are several possible scenarios, including one, they are literally unsheltered, either living outdoors, in a car, or in a place not meant for habitation, or they might be living in a budget motel, or they might be living doubled up with family or friends, and oftentimes they're moving from place to place when they're in this situation. So if you're looking at the diagram, you'll see rapid exit in a couple of places, but I'm gonna skip that for now. I'll come back to this new component a little later. So moving on to those who are unsheltered, if the individual or family is literally unsheltered, they are typically referred for street outreach. Street outreach staff go to where the family or individual is and works to connect them with services and supports until they can get shelter or longer term housing. They're typically referred to emergency shelter at the same time. Those that are in motels or doubled up are referred to local shelters. Unfortunately, the demand greatly exceeds the supply, so it can be weeks or even months before there's availability. And finally, there are a handful of slots in our community for transitional or bridge housing, including at Families Together. For this housing type, some of our referrals come through the school system for families that are living in motels who are not able to get into a shelter because of capacity issues. They're not able to save money to get to permanent housing because they're paying for the motel room and that eats up their income. Other referrals will come through the Access Hub for families who have income, but who may have barriers that are preventing them from accessing permanent housing. Maybe their credit score is low. Maybe they need to increase their income or establish a rental history. So while they're in bridge housing, they'll be able to work with a team on these barriers and eventually move into permanent housing on their own with money that they've been able to save. So once a family has connected with street outreach or emergency shelter, the options for assistance expand. The shelter or outreach staff use an assessment tool that aids in determining the best housing program fit for a family and also aids in prioritization. So depending on the score and the input of the staff, there are basically three options. If a family has limited barriers, they're likely to be able to rehouse themselves without a lot of assistance. They may not be matched to a housing program. Or if they are, they might be like lower on the list. These families might be a good candidate for rapid exit, again, which I'll talk about a little bit later. If a family has a number of barriers and could really benefit from financial support as well as case management, they will be likely be matched for rapid rehousing. So that would be us. That's our core program, and it's the one through which we serve the majority of our clients. We're not the only rapid rehousing provider for families, but we are the largest in Wake County that focuses solely on families with children. So the partnership monitors the list. Agencies like ours let them know when they have capacity to enroll additional families. And then finally, if a family has significant barriers, as well as a household member with one or more disabilities, their score might indicate that they would be a good candidate for permanent supportive housing. So with this housing option, there is a housing voucher available, and the opportunity for ongoing mental health services by practitioners who will work to ensure long-term stability. And the goal, the goal for all is obviously permanent housing. Permanent supportive housing is permanent housing. Rapid rehousing gets you there into permanent housing. And I'm going to, say that, we work we have a lot of programs to help move families into stable homes, but we definitely don't do it alone. So Karen, maybe you can talk to some of the important partnerships that we have in our community that support our work and the families that we work with.
Sure. Yes, Lisa, you're right. It takes us all working together to get our families housed. It is most definitely a collaborative effort to find that stable housing and to provide that temporary shelter while the families are in the process of searching for housing. So our partnering agencies that we work diligently with is Salvation Army, Family Promise, Triangle Family Services through their street outreach program, as well as the Dorcas and the Caring Place. Now, as you had mentioned, these are shelters where the families are generally receiving case management services and temporary shelter while they are matched with families together to find permanent housing. And these are very critical partners that we're working with because again, finding housing is a process and it allows us to keep the families off the street during this time. Also, some other very key community partners that we're working with is Mckinney Vento, and they're working to coordinate that transportation for the kids from the different shelters to their school so that there is not that break up in them going to school where they're actually enrolled at. So that is key as well. Some of the other agencies that we work closely with in this process of finding housing is like the Raleigh Housing Authority. As Lisa mentioned, some families are deemed to receive a Section 8 voucher. So that within itself is a process of submitting the applications. The Raleigh Housing Authority has a set number of vouchers that are designated primarily to families who are homeless. During this process, we're also, when we get to the place where we have found them housing, other key community partners that we work with. And when I first started about 7 years ago, we were not working with one major partner yet, but at that initial time, we worked with Deacon G. And what I experienced was once we did find housing for families, they were signing their lease and they were in their new place, but they had no furniture. So for a moment, Deacon G, he came in, he provided furniture for the families. And later we developed this great partnership with the Green Chair Project. Now they come in and provide a housing, furniture for the complete home, anywhere from the bedding, the kitchen, desks, things, everything that the family really needs to get started again, which is a great partnership. We also work closely with Wheels for Hope, providing that opportunity for families to have that transportation. Wake Tech, with them working with their GED program, which is really great, and some certifications. Dress for Success, providing that opportunity to really groom our clients, people in the community with that opportunity for interview skills. We work with partnerships such also as the local food pantries. Catholic Parish provides opportunities for families to go and get food. Interfaith Shuttle, Urban Ministries, and also we have connected with Summit Credit Union, which allows us to get our clients connected to a bank and set up a bank account, that savings, that checking. And for some of them, it's the very first one that they've ever had. And just another very key partner that we have is Wake County government. The county provides many mainstream benefits such as child care assistance. And this is very important for us in getting those vouchers so the parents can go out and get jobs, which is very critical in them getting housing, as well as we work with the 4-H and their family support service agency as well. Now, we have the food assistance, the SNAP program, as well as health insurance. Now, Lisa, would you please take this opportunity just to mention another special program that we're working with called Bridge to Home in the county that is funding several of our other community partners?
Absolutely, yeah. This was recent new funding that will allow Families Together, as well as other agencies that are in community, the opportunity to really significantly ramp up and increase our staffing, our programming, and we really expect to have some significant impacts here. So I'll just share briefly some of the key elements that relate to what we've been discussing. First, Rapid Exit is a new housing component that we think will move families, as the title implies, quickly from homelessness to permanent housing. Now, it's not for everyone, but if a family needs minimal support to get into housing, or maybe they don't need ongoing case management, or maybe their score is so low on that assessment tool that I mentioned that the chances of them getting matched for rapid rehousing are low. So now there's funding available to assist these families without waiting for a rapid rehousing slot to open up. So it can take a couple of forms. One might be for families that are referred to us for shelter, but that we're able to assist them so quickly that they don't even need shelter. This happened just recently. A family needed help paying off a pretty significant utility arrear. Other than that, they were set to go. They had an apartment they had found. They were about to sign their lease. They needed that financial support, and then they could make it on their own, and they are confident that they will be able to. So that was, that's one really, recent and amazing and helpful example of the Rapid Exit program really working as it's intended to. The other is for a new component that we're introducing with Bridge to Home funding. So we'll have 15 hotel units that are efficiencies with kitchenettes, combined with the 6 units that we have where our office is in East Raleigh. We'll have 21 shelter units at any given time. So families in these units may or may not be matched for rapid rehousing. But with quick access to security deposit and rental assistance, could move into affordable housing quickly. We can now make that happen. with this funding. So this should really help us increase the number that we can serve, because families will ideally be staying in shelter for shorter periods of time. We're in the process of hiring an emergency shelter mentor advocate. This funding is also providing funding for 5 other positions that will allow us to increase our capacity to serve more families during this time of high need, limited vacancy, and skyrocketing rents. And I will stop there.
Thank you both. That was great. Now it is your turn to ask questions. Guests, there are 2 ways for you to participate. You can choose to navigate to your reaction tab at the bottom and raise your hand, and we'll call you as we see you. Or if you're uncomfortable with doing that, you may type your question in the chat, and as the conversation slows, I will visit the chat and ask the questions for you. So with that, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, now it just disappeared. The question about how many people does Families Together serve each year? Oh boy, that's it's a tricky question, because the last couple of years have been so insanely crazy, not just with COVID, but also with the expansion of our programs. Traditionally, though, we've served about 100 families or enrolled a year. And we also work with families, as you may or may not know. We work with them for up to a year once they've been housed. So we have people in our program in a given year that are new enrollments, as well as those that have been housed and that are receiving stabilization services. I think the most recent count that we did was around 700 individuals that are served by our program during the course of a year. And the problem of homelessness, that during the eviction, there was a moratorium on evictions. We didn't see a lot of evictions. We had none in our clients. It really did seem to work. Now that that's ended, we're seeing a huge impact from that, and I think that it's only going to increase. I think family homelessness is only going to increase because of the housing, the crisis that we're in now. I mean, the rents just keep going up. I mean, it's just, for anybody it's hard, but for people with lower income, it's to live in Raleigh. I mean, we're seeing more and more people, even staff, that don't live in Raleigh. No, not many people can afford to live in Raleigh these days. So we're working to help find housing in, other areas that may be a little bit more affordable. But it's definitely a challenge.
I have a question. So Dress for Success. In the past, when I would go on a job interview many decades ago, I would wear a suit or something very dressy. The workforce has changed somewhat. What kind of clothing? I know this is kind of a little niche question, but what kind of clothing are you looking for? And if we have just gently used clothes, can we just, that are appropriate, would it be then appropriate to deliver the items to the main office or to contact someone from Families Together?
I'll jump in here. I can drop in the chat. Sadie would be who you would contact about that. And I'm sure that there is a direct line to Dress to Success that we could direct you to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll just quickly respond. We do use Dress for Success, and they not just provide, the clothing, but they provide other job skills and teachings, trainings, opportunities. They're a wonderful partner agency, and I would suggest, and Karen, I don't know if you agree, but I would suggest donating there, because we will get our clients connected to them, and it's just, easier.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Cynthia, I noticed you had your hand up before. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just curious where there's a gap in service. So if you're looking at your families and all of your partners, and you think about the families that you serve, what service is missing in our community? Or support that the families could use?
Well, one thing that I think that we haven't done a whole lot of lately, but it's something that I've been thinking about, and Karen and I have talked about, is doing more in the form of programming for the children in our program. We do offer some tutoring and after school support, but not like we did in the past. Of course, COVID impacted that, and then there are definitely agencies that we could help, pay for after school care at the Y, Boys and Girls Club. But as we grow, and we're also looking to do a shelter expansion on site where we'll eventually have 10 families living on site. I think that's something that we could work on doing more of. We have a new intern who's focusing on children's activities. We have a new partnership with 4-H, with cooperative extension. But it's just something that I see that we could do more of to support our families.
And I should have prefaced my question by saying the reason I'm asking is I'm with the Caring Connections Ministry, and we were a mentoring program. And so we work with families, and we also partner with groups, and we see wonderful programs like Families Together and all these partners. And so I'm always asking, like, what are we forgetting, and where could we plug in to help groups and support families? And there's just been so much great work with the Housing Hub over the last few years. That's just been such an amazing connection to our community. So I was just curious what y'all thought.
Tell me the name of your group again.
We're the Caring Connections Ministry. We're a small mentoring program. We do life and job skills, and then partner women with a mentor, and have worked with a few families over the years, and just trying to figure out, like, where's that gap that maybe a small program could step in to help, or we could promote to our faith community, because we have a big access to that through our program, and that we could share needs.
Yeah, maybe we should meet and just kind of talk through some of that. I think that would be, I'd love to learn more.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cynthia. So we had another question from Melanie Barker. How long did it take to get funding for the additional support and positions that are in the process of being filled?
Well, the application was, it was long. It wasn't fun, but all kidding aside, government grants are not always fun to work on, but the funding deadline was the end of December. And we were notified within a month and a half. They had a lot of money. They had 10 million available for our community. We were the largest recipient of funds, but only about half were requested. So, there's more. This is for a year and a half, and we think that it'll be another year. There'll be a total of 3 years of funding with this. So, we've hired some people. We're final interviews with a couple more, but by the end of April, we will probably be fully staffed, or at least by mid-May.
So Julie Helmy asks, if she's approached by a homeless person asking for help, what agency do I give them to get connected? And is there an intake agency? Yes, there is. And Lisa, you can answer, and I'll drop the link in the chat.
It is the Access Hub. And so they can call, if they call our agency, we have a voicemail system that provides information about, who to call. Our website has it on there. Probably all agencies in our community do, because that's now the place where people go. It used to be they could call us. That doesn't work anywhere in this community anymore, or very rarely. There are some agencies that don't receive government funds, and they sort of can do what they want, but most agencies are going through this coordinated access system. So they would start with the Access Hub and get screened, and then get referred from there. I
have one more question. Do y'all recommend any any way to fight this housing crisis? Like, are there advocacy groups on a government level? Like, what can we do for those of us here today who are obviously concerned about this population that we're all serving and volunteering and working with? Like, what do you recommend? It's such a
it's daunting, isn't it? Yeah. You know, there are advocacy groups. I know One Wake is a very big, strong presence now. The Congregations for Social Justice is another group. Some of the affordable housing partners have our own group, and you know, meeting with and talking with elected officials, I think, is key. And I know this happening in different municipalities. I know Western Wake has an organization, and they're going to, you know, council meetings and, you know, supporting efforts that will bring more affordable housing. I think we just need to keep harping on it and keep talking about it and making sure that it's a priority. I just heard on the news today, you know, the new mayor in Durham saying that's the number one, you know, we want to fight crime. The number one way to fight crime is to make sure there's affordable housing. You know, just if people don't have a safe place to sleep at night, you know, there's all bets are off, I think is what she said. So, you know, I think a lot, you know, I think there's, you know, we can continue to work with our elected officials. We can, you know, meet with them and support efforts like the housing bond that was passed year before last.
Thank you.
Another shameless plug for us, it would be, you know, support agencies like ours, whether that's with your words and telling people about us or with your gifts. And there are unique ways to give as well. We have donors who have generously given extra properties that they own to actually house families. And obviously this is not something that everybody can do, but there are unique ways that you can, and your community can choose to give back. And I think doing what you did was excellent. You came on here and you asked, you know, how can we get involved? And that is a way you are helping to fight affordable housing when you do that. Fight
And
the
y'all do a
lack of
great
affordable
job
housing.
y'all do a great job of educating on your social media platform, all the links. In fact, I share them all the time. The one the other day about the Wake County, I think being 36% of the income of one's income to just be able to afford to live here. So y'all have really done a great job at that.
And thank you, Sadie, who does the social media, and Martinique, who was here before. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hit one more question and then we will wrap up. Ooh, we are getting close here, aren't we? Okay, I'll skip the last questions then. Sadie, cue me up. All right, so we do have some winners to announce. But first, I would like to make an exciting announcement. Next week, 1 week from today, is our Triple Impact Day on Tuesday, the 26th. And we want to take the time to thank our amazing and generous challenge match donors who have banded together to create this challenge match fund of $57,000. And thanks to these generous funders, we are going to be able to offer you the opportunity to triple your impact next Tuesday. I don't want the date to get forgotten, which means that your gift has 3 times the impact when you give on this day. So if you give $50, it becomes $150, which can pay for a 2-night stay in emergency housing for a family to stay together. The 100 triples to 300, which gives kids in our program healthy snacks. And finally, the big gift like 500 is even bigger and helps provide children with a place to stay for 2 months in a bed of their own. So as you can see, your gifts will go a lot farther on this day. So we hope that you will join us and give your gifts. And if not, just preach our words and that we're doing it. And we would appreciate that as well. Thank you everybody for joining us today. And don't forget to register for our last coffee and community chat. I believe Jen will be dropping that in the chat. And we are going to be talking about closing the gap and taking steps from towards financial stability. Harriet Reynolds will be back with her colleague Tanisha Davis, and they are going to talk about some of our more unique programming that meets the families' unique needs and helps get them to a place to really thrive. So we hope that you'll join us. It's on May 3rd at noon. And again, you can register by clicking on that link in the chat. And finally, for everybody here, who I know you're waiting to see who is winning this beautiful mug that will be having a steaming cup of tea or coffee in it very soon. And our winners are, drum roll please, Joel Brown and Cynthia Bellin. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
will if you drop, I will contact you for your contact information. I will mail it out tomorrow. Thank you everybody for joining us for your coffee break today.